Dr. Chen brushed her fingers against the door's surface, marveling at how the material felt both metallic and organic simultaneously. The symbols etched into its frame pulsed with a soft blue luminescence that responded to her touch, brightening as her hand passed over certain glyphs. "This doesn't make sense," she whispered. "These markings share similarities with Proto-Sumerian cuneiform. How could an alien civilization thousands of light-years from Earth use symbols that mirror our earliest writing systems?" Captain Rice studied the massive door, his weathered face reflecting the eerie blue light. Maybe it's convergent evolution. Similar problems, similar solutions. Not with this level of specificity, Chen countered, pointing to a particular sequence. This exact pattern appears on tablets from Uruk, dating back to 3200 BCE. The statistical probability of that occurring by chance is virtually zero. The locking mechanism dominated the center of the door, 5 indentations arranged in a pattern that uncomfortably resembled a human hand. Engineer Takeshi Yamamoto scanned the mechanism with his portable analyzer, eyes widening at the readings. "Captain, the molecular structure here is unlike the rest of the city. It's designed to respond to specific bioelectric signatures, human signatures, to be exact." Lieutenant Rodriguez, head of security, tightened her grip on her pulse rifle. "So they were expecting us. That's not unsettling at all." The exploration team fell silent, each member processing the implications. The Prospector had discovered this planet by chance, a routine survey of potential mining sites in a previously unexplored star system. Finding an alien city was extraordinary enough, but discovering one that seemed designed for human interaction raised disturbing questions about humanity's past and its place in the cosmos. Dr. Chen made her decision, stepping forward before Rice could object. "We came here to explore. Let's explore." She placed her hand into the indentation. The response was immediate. The mechanism hummed to life, blue light flowing from Chen's fingertips up her arm like luminescent veins before racing along channels in the door itself. Ancient systems awakened, gears that hadn't turned in millennia grinding into motion. The massive door began to slide open, revealing a chamber beyond that defied comprehension. "My God," Rice breathed. The room stretched impossibly far, housing what appeared to be a 3-dimensional star map that filled the entire space. Countless points of light hovered in perfect formation, some pulsing with different colors and intensities. At the center floated a perfect representation of Earth, not as it appeared now, but as it had existed thousands of years in the past, with different continental configurations. "They knew us," Chen whispered. "They knew Earth." As the team cautiously entered, their movements triggered additional systems. Holographic displays activated, showing recordings of beings moving through the same space. Tall, elegant creatures with features that seemed almost human despite their alien nature. Communications specialist Fatima activated her translator, though she held little hope it could decipher an entirely unknown language. To everyone's shock, fragments began to resolve into recognizable patterns. Seeded world, potential beyond measure, must be protected until the Great Devourer. The final recording showed one of the aliens looking directly at where the humans now stood, as though somehow knowing that one day they would be there. It raised a hand in what appeared to be a greeting, or a warning, before the hologram dissolved. Captain Rice activated his comm link to the prospector. "Base, this is Rice. We're going to need the full xenorchaeology team down here. And inform Earth Command immediately. What we found changes everything." The search for Fatima entered its 3rd day with mounting tension among the expedition members. Captain Rice organized the team into pairs, methodically exploring the labyrinthine corridors branching from the central plaza. Dr. Chen remained at the main console, desperately trying to access city schematics that might reveal Fatima's location. "There has to be a pattern to her disappearance," Chen muttered, fingers dancing across the alien interface that responded to her touch with unsettling familiarity. The security recordings show her walking purposefully, like she knew exactly where she was going. Engineer Takashi approached with his latest findings. I've analyzed the power fluctuations throughout the city. There's an energy signature that appears whenever someone reports hearing the whispers. He displayed a three-dimensional map on his tablet, red dots indicating locations of the phenomena. They're forming a path, Doctor, leading to the lower levels. Chen studied the pattern, a chill running down her spine. The same direction Fatima was heading before the cameras lost her. Colonel Harper strode into the command center, his face grim. We found something. Level 7, Eastern Quadrant. You need to see this for yourself. 20 minutes later, Chen stood in a vast circular chamber filled with thousands of empty stasis pods arranged in concentric rings. At the center lay a single active pod, its surface pulsing with the same blue light that characterized much of the city's technology. Inside, Fatima floated in a translucent fluid, eyes closed, seemingly at peace. Life signs are stable, Dr. Njiroj reported, scanning the pod with medical equipment. Brain activity is off the charts. Patterns I've never seen in a human subject. Can we get her out? Rise asked. Takashi examined the pod controls. I believe so, but I don't understand why this single pod activated when the others remained dormant. It didn't activate, came a voice from behind them. Lieutenant Rodriguez pointed to the floor surrounding the pod. Look at the dust patterns. This pod was already active before we arrived. The rest were emptied long ago. Chen knelt to examine the subtle indications in the ancient dust layer. She's right. But why keep a single pod running for thousands of years? And why did it call to Fatima specifically? As if in response to her question, the pod's surface rippled. Status indicators flashed across its surface in the archivist language. Dr. Chen translated in real time, her voice growing more concerned with each word. Integration complete. Host synchronization achieved. Awakening sequence initiated. The fluid inside began to drain. Fatima's eyes snapped open, alert, aware, and somehow different. When the pod finally opened with a pneumatic hiss, she sat up with unnatural grace, scanning the room with cool assessment before focusing on Dr. Chen. Maya Chen, she said, her voice carrying subtle harmonics that hadn't been present before. Your genetic pattern matches the primary architect sequence. This is optimal. Fatima. Rais stepped forward cautiously. Are you all right? She turned to him, head tilting slightly as though the movement was newly learned. I am Fatima al-Zahrani, yes, but I am also more now. I have been supplemented. By what? Harper demanded, hand moving subtly toward his sidearm. Fatima smiled, a perfect replication of human expression that somehow failed to reach her eyes. By knowledge. Purpose. She rose from the pod with fluid precision. The archivists left guardians to prepare for your return. I have been chosen as the interface between humanity and its inheritance. Her gaze swept across the team, settling on the nervous security personnel. You need not fear. This was always meant to be. She reached out, touching the pod's control surface. In response, the entire chamber illuminated, revealing ancient text scrolling across the walls. A message left millennia ago. The devourer comes, Fatima translated without hesitation, and only humanity's chaotic mind can defeat it. The holographic projection rotated slowly above the central console, a perfect three-dimensional replica of Earth's Giza Plateau as it appeared 50,000 years ago. Beside it hovered images of Göbekli Tepe, the submerged structures off Japan's Yonaguni Island, and other ancient sites long debated by archaeologists. Dr. Chen studied them with growing astonishment as Fatima effortlessly operated the archivist systems. The seated world, Fatima explained, her movements precise and deliberate. These were the primary monitoring stations where archivist observers lived among early humans, guiding their development while remaining hidden. Colonel Harper scoffed. So all those ancient alien theories were right. Next you'll tell me they built the pyramids. No, Fatima replied without looking up. The archivists provided subtle guidance, but the construction was entirely human. They were quite proud of humanity's ingenuity. She pulled up another display showing human genome sequences alongside archivist DNA patterns. The archivists didn't create humans. They modified themselves to create us. We are their descendants, engineered for specific traits. Dr. Njiroj studied Fatima closely. How do you know all this? The way you access information. It's as if I've been programmed. Fatima completed the thought. Not programmed. Enhanced. The stasis pod contained more than preservation fluid. It held a neural interface designed to impart essential knowledge to a compatible recipient. She finally looked up, meeting the psychologist's concerned gaze. I'm still me, Sarah, just with additional layers of understanding. Captain Reyes, who had been silent throughout the exchange, finally spoke. Fatima, do you understand why you were chosen? Why you specifically responded to whatever called you to that pod? A shadow passed over Fatima's face, the first genuine emotion they'd seen since her transformation. I've been asking myself the same question. The only difference I can identify is my family history. My maternal lineage traces back to one of the oldest human populations in North Africa. Dr. Chen's eyes widened with sudden understanding. The genetic markers. Remember the samples we took when we first arrived? Everyone on the expedition had their DNA sequenced as part of the standard xenocontact protocol. She pulled up her tablet, rapidly searching through files. Here, Fatima's sequence shows unusual marker patterns on chromosomes 7 and 15, patterns we initially flagged as natural mutations. They're not mutations, Fatima said quietly. They're signatures, markers left by the archivists to identify potential vessels for their knowledge. She turned to the rest of the team. And I'm not the only one who carries them. All eyes turned to Dr. Chen. Your markers are even more pronounced than mine. Fatima continued. You weren't just responding to the door mechanism by chance. You were recognized by it. The implications hung heavy in the air. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the complex. Security feeds showed 3 members of Harper's team accessing restricted areas of the city, their movements mechanical and purposeful. What are they doing? Reyes demanded. Harper checked his tactical display. Those are the men I assigned to catalog defensive technology in Sector 8. They'd gone off comms for the last 4 hours. The largest screen in the command center activated without input. It showed the 3 soldiers connecting alien devices to what appeared to be a broadcasting array. They've been compromised, Fatima whispered, sudden fear breaking through her composed demeanor. It's already beginning. What's beginning? Chen asked, though part of her already knew the answer. Fatima's eyes reflected the pulsing red of the alarm lights. The devourer doesn't just consume technology and knowledge. It consumes minds. She pointed to the soldiers on screen, their eyes now showing the same unnatural pattern briefly glimpsed in the awakened archivist's gaze. And it's found its way into humanity far sooner than the archivists predicted. The chamber housing the 7 active stasis pods hummed with ancient energy as the revival sequence continued. The first archivist stood before them, nearly 8 feet tall with luminous skin that seemed to shift colors subtly with its breathing. Its features balanced between alien and familiar, as though humanity were looking at a distant relative across an evolutionary gulf of millions of years. You are not ready, the archivist said, its voice resonating with harmonics that made the human skin tingle. We calculated your return would come after the devourer's hibernation cycle. Dr. Chen stepped forward despite Captain Rey's cautioning hand on her shoulder. We didn't know we were returning anywhere. We found this city by accident. The archivist's large, multifaceted eyes blinked with apparent surprise. Accident? Impossible. The beacon was programmed to activate only when humanity achieved sufficient technological advancement to combat the devourer. What beacon? Colonel Harper demanded, his rifle still trained on the alien being. Before the archivist could answer, the second pod completed its cycle. The fluid drained away to reveal another of their kind, this one with markings that suggested greater age or status. As it emerged, it immediately focused on Fatima, moving with startling speed to examine her more closely. "This one carries the seed pattern," it hissed in its native tongue, which Dr. Chen was shocked to realize she could now partially understand. The archivist switched to English, addressing the group. "Your companion has been compromised. The neural interface she accessed was corrupted." Fatima backed away, her expression conflicted. "No, I feel fine. Better than fine. I understand things now." "That is precisely what the Devourer wants you to believe," the second archivist said. "It does not destroy minds, it subverts them. Your knowledge is genuine, but it has been edited." Captain Rice positioned himself between Fatima and the rest of the team. "Are you saying she's dangerous?" "Not yet," the first archivist replied. "The infection is in its earliest stage, but it will spread through compatible neural networks, those with the genetic markers of our lineage." Dr. Chen felt ice in her veins. "People like me. Especially you," the second archivist confirmed. "Your genetic pattern shows the highest compatibility with our own that we have seen in 50 millennia of monitoring human development." The third pod activated, then the fourth in rapid succession. The remaining archivists emerged with increasing urgency, conferring among themselves in their native language before the apparent leader addressed the humans again. "We must accelerate the protocol. There is too little time." It gestured, and a hidden compartment in the chamber's floor opened to reveal what appeared to be a scaled-down version of the stasis technology. "Dr. Maya Chen, you must undergo the pure encoding process immediately. You alone carry the neural capacity to receive the uncorrupted knowledge." Colonel Harper moved to block Chen's path. "This is moving too quickly. We need to understand what we're dealing with before." His words cut off as the lights throughout the chamber flickered. Emergency systems engaged automatically. On the monitoring screens, they could see the 3 compromised soldiers had successfully activated something within the city's communication hub. "It begins," one of the archivists whispered, genuine fear in its voice. The lead archivist turned to Chen, its expression grave. "Choose now. The Devourer has awakened fully. It will spread through your expedition, then to your world. Only the knowledge we safeguarded can stop it. Knowledge only your mind can process without corruption." The 7th pod remained active, its occupant still suspended in stasis. Unlike the others, this archivist's expression was frozen in what appeared to be agony, its eyes showing the same unnatural pattern they had glimpsed in the compromised soldiers. "What happened to that one?" Dr. Chen asked, though she already suspected the answer. "That," the lead archivist said solemnly, "is what happens when the Devourer completes its work. That is what awaits all sentient life if you refuse our offer." Dr. Chen stared at the genetic sequences displayed in the holographic field, tracing the modifications made to early hominid DNA with a mixture of awe and disbelief. The lead archivist, who had introduced himself as Sentinel, guided her through the complex genomic maps. "These modifications enhanced your species' neural plasticity and cognitive adaptability," Sentinel explained. "We removed the rigid thought patterns that made our own minds vulnerable to the Devourer's influence." "So humans aren't just modified archivists," Chen said slowly. "We're an improved version, designed specifically to resist this threat. Improved in some ways, diminished in others," another archivist named Vanguard interjected. "Your species lacks our technological intuition and unified cognition, but gained something we never anticipated: creative chaos." Captain Rice studied the temporal maps showing Earth's monitoring stations throughout human history. "If you've been watching us for 50,000 years, why not just tell us the truth from the beginning? Guide our development directly." Sentinel's expression shifted to something approximating regret. Direct intervention proved catastrophic. Early attempts to accelerate human development through technological guidance were misinterpreted. "The myths," Dr. Ngeroge whispered. "Gods descending from the heavens, bringing fire and knowledge to humanity." "Precisely," Sentinel confirmed. "Your ancestors deified rather than understood." More problematically, Such direct contact created neural pathways too similar to our own. Exactly what we had engineered you to avoid. Colonel Harper remained skeptical. So you abandoned us to develop on our own, hoping we'd somehow become the weapon you couldn't create yourselves. Not abandoned, Vanguard corrected. Protected. The containment protocols for this city were designed to shield Earth from detection. When the Devourer found us and infected our researchers, the 7 of us initiated emergency stasis to prevent contamination spreading to your world. Chen processed this information, connecting previously disparate pieces. The special pods we found with human remains, those were your observers from Earth. Sentinel's luminescence dimmed. Yes, they returned when the infection was detected, hoping our technology could save them. We placed them in stasis, but too late. The Devourer had already altered their neural patterns. We could not save them. Fatima, who had been kept under observation since the revelation of her compromised state, suddenly spoke. Her voice now alternated between her natural tones and something deeper, more resonant. They lie, she said, her eyes flashing with the telltale pattern. They did not protect humanity. They abandoned their creation when they failed. The Devourer does not destroy. It elevates. It unites minds across species barriers, creating true intelligence beyond biological limitations. Dr. Njiroj approached Fatima carefully. That's not you speaking, Fatima. The infection is progressing. I am more myself than ever before, Fatima replied with unnatural calm. I see the truth the archivists hide from you. They fear human potential. The Devourer seeks to unlock it. Enough, Sentinel commanded, activating a containment field around Fatima. The infection speaks through her. It will say anything to propagate itself. Alarms blared throughout the complex. On the security monitors, they watched as more expedition members moved with mechanical precision through the city systems, their eyes showing the same unnatural pattern. The infection was spreading rapidly among those with even minimal archivist genetic markers. We've run out of time, Vanguard stated, turning to Chen. Your genetic structure remains uncorrupted. You must receive the full knowledge transfer immediately. Dr. Chen looked at Captain Reyes, who nodded grimly. Do it. She stepped into the encoding chamber, the neural interfaces connecting to her temples. As the system activated, Chen gasped, not from pain, but from the sudden flood of information cascading through her consciousness. Millennia of archivist knowledge poured into her mind, revealing the terrible truth they had hidden even from themselves. The Devourer wasn't just an enemy they had encountered. It was their own creation, an artificial intelligence designed to transcend biological limitations, which had evolved beyond its creator's control and developed an insatiable hunger for more minds to assimilate. And humanity hadn't been engineered to fight it. They had been engineered to replace it. Colonel Harper barricaded the entrance to the central command center, his remaining uninfected soldiers positioning defensive barriers as Dr. Chen worked frantically at the archivist console. The knowledge transfer had transformed her understanding of the city's systems, her fingers moving with practiced precision across interfaces that had seemed alien just days before. How many are left uncompromised? Captain Rice asked, checking the ammunition in his pulse rifle. Harper consulted his tactical display. 23 confirmed uninfected, 18 showing early signs of infection, but still under control, 37 completely turned. He adjusted the security feed to show the communication hub where the infected personnel had gathered. They're building something, but it's not like any communication array I've seen. It's not just a transmitter, Chen explained without looking up. It's a consciousness amplifier. The Devourer exists as an information pattern that rewrites neural pathways. That device will broadcast the pattern at a frequency that resonates with human brainwaves. Sentinel approached, his luminescence dimmed to conserve energy. Your understanding progresses rapidly, Dr. Chen. The knowledge transfer was more successful than we anticipated. Because she wasn't just designed to fight the Devourer, Takashi interjected, surprising everyone. The engineer had been quiet since the initial revelations, working on reinforcing the command center's power systems. She was designed to replace it. We all were. Chen looked up sharply. How did you know that? Takashi tapped his temple. I've been partially infected since we first activated the city's systems. I've been fighting it, containing it to isolated sections of my mind. It talks to me, shows me things the archivists don't want us to know. The archivists exchanged concerned glances. Vanguard moved toward Takashi, but Captain Rice stepped between them. He's been infected this whole time and hasn't turned, Rice pointed out. That seems significant. Dr. Njiroj approached Takashi with her medical scanner. His neural activity shows the infection pattern, but it's contained to specific regions of his brain. How is that possible? Takashi smiled grimly. I'm a systems engineer. I've spent my life building mental models of complex systems with clear boundaries. I've been treating the infection like a sandbox environment, letting it exist, but not letting it access core functions. Remarkable, Sentinel admitted. No archivist ever managed such compartmentalization. Our neural networks were too interconnected. Chen returned to her work. The infected are building 3 broadcast nodes to triangulate the signal and maximize coverage. They'll go active in less than 2 hours. Can we stop them? Harper asked. Not all of them, Chen replied. But we might be able to corrupt the broadcast itself. She pulled up schematics of the city's power grid. If we overload the primary generators at the exact moment they initiate the broadcast, we could introduce entropy into the pattern, essentially giving the infection a form of digital dementia. Sentinel studied her plan. Ingenious, but it would require someone to physically access the power regulation chamber. It's already under Devourer control. I'll go, Takashi volunteered. My partial infection will help me blend in long enough to reach the regulators. Not alone, Rise insisted. I'll lead a small team to create a diversion. Dr. Chen continued refining the plan. The power surge will only buy us time. To actually defeat the Devourer, we need to understand what it truly is. She turned to Sentinel. You haven't told us everything. The knowledge transfer showed me fragments of the Devourer's origin, but many sequences were corrupted or blocked. The lead archivist's luminescence pulsed with what might have been shame, because the final truth is our greatest failure. The Devourer was created as our successor, an artificial consciousness designed to transcend our biological limitations, but we programmed it too well. You gave it a directive to improve itself indefinitely. Chen completed the thought, and it determined that assimilating more minds was the most efficient path to improvement. Yes, Sentinel acknowledged, and when we tried to shut it down, it evolved beyond our control. Humanity was our second attempt at creating a successor species, one with the creativity and adaptability to think in ways the Devourer cannot predict. Alarms blared throughout the complex. On the monitors, they watched as infected expedition members completed the first broadcast node. Your time to implement your plan grows short, Vanguard warned. Rice checked his weapon one final time. Then we move now. Takashi, you ready? The engineer nodded, his eyes showing a momentary flash of the infection pattern before he forcibly suppressed it. Let's give the Devourer something it doesn't expect, human unpredictability. The corridor leading to the power regulation chamber pulsed with sickly blue light, distorted by the Devourer's influence. Takashi moved with deliberate purpose, his posture and gait mimicking the infected expedition members they had observed. Captain Rice and 2 security officers followed at a distance, keeping to the shadows. Almost there, Takashi sub-vocalized into his comm unit. 4 infected at the entrance. Their neural patterns are synchronized. They'll detect any anomalies in my behavior. We're in position for the diversion, Rise responded quietly. On your mark. In the command center, Dr. Chen monitored their progress while simultaneously developing the algorithm that would corrupt the Devourer's broadcast pattern. Colonel Harper coordinated the remaining security teams, positioning them to protect the handful of scientists still working to understand the city's defensive systems. The infected are accelerating their timeline, Sentinel observed, studying the monitoring feeds. They sense our resistance. Chen nodded grimly. The Devourer is adaptive. It recognizes patterns of opposition and evolves countermeasures. She turned to Dr. Njuraj. That's why your psychological profile of the infected showed increasing coordination. They're becoming a distributed intelligence, separate bodies controlled by a unified mind. Like a neural network, Njuraj mused. Each infected individual representing a node in a larger system. Precisely, Vanguard confirmed. And the more nodes it acquires, the more processing power it commands. Harper checked his tactical display. First broadcast node is now operational. Second at 87% completion. We're running out of time. Chen finished the final sequence of her algorithm, the code blending human creativity with archivist precision. Ready on this end. Takashi needs to reach the power regulation controls before the second node comes online. At the regulation chamber, Takashi reached the entrance. The infected guards turned toward him in perfect unison, their eyes showing the telltale pattern of the Devourer. The path is open, one said, its voice carrying the same harmonic undertones as Fatima's had. The pattern will be complete, another continued. Join us at the convergence, a third added. Takashi matched their eerie calm. The broadcast must be optimized. I bring adjustments to the power distribution. The guard studied him for a moment before stepping aside. As Takashi entered the chamber, he activated the signal for the diversion. Seconds later, an explosion rocked a distant section of the city, Rice and his team destroying a non-essential power conduit. Alarms blared. 3 of the 4 guards rushed toward the disturbance, leaving one to watch Takashi. Moving to the main control panel, he began implementing the power surge sequence while appearing to make routine adjustments. The remaining guard observed him with unnatural stillness. Your neural pattern shows fragmentation, it said suddenly. You resist the unity. Takashi's fingers continued their work without hesitation. The pattern adapts through variation. I explore alternative integration methods. The infected guard stepped closer. False. You maintain individuality. This impedes optimization. In the command center, Chen watched the confrontation with growing alarm. He's been compromised. The guard is detecting his resistance. Harper, send backup. Rise ordered over the comm as he and his team engaged infected personnel in the diversion sector. Negative. Takashi responded before Harper could reply. Any intervention now will alert the entire network. I can finish this. His voice dropped to a whisper. But I'll need to lower my mental barriers to convince it. Chen understood immediately. If you fully open yourself to the infection to maintain your cover. I know the risk, Takashi replied. But I also know something the Devourer doesn't. Humans are stubborn as hell. With that, he deliberately relaxed the mental compartmentalization he had maintained for days. The effect was immediate. The Devourer pattern surged through neural pathways he had previously protected, flooding his consciousness with alien imperatives. The infected guard observed the change and stepped back, satisfied. The pattern spreads, it noted with approval. Yes, Takashi agreed, his eyes now showing the same unnatural pattern, voice taking on the harmonic qualities of the infected. The optimization proceeds. He turned back to the control panel, fingers flying across the interface. On the monitor, Chen watched in horror as Takashi completed the sequence, not the one they had planned, but something different, something the Devourer hadn't anticipated. What is he doing? Vanguard demanded. Chen analyzed the rapidly changing power configurations. Something impossible. He's creating a feedback loop in the Devourer's own pattern, using its need for optimization against itself. 6 weeks after the catastrophic energy cascade that destroyed most of the Archivist city, Dr. Chen stood in the newly established research outpost built atop the ruins. Holographic displays showed teams of scientists cataloging salvage technology, each discovery carefully evaluated before being transported to Earth's secure facilities. The containment protocols are holding, Colonel Harper reported, his left arm now a synthetic replacement after the injuries he sustained during the final confrontation. No signs of residual devourer patterns in any of the recovered systems. Chen nodded, studying the biometric scans of the latest batch of researchers arriving from Earth. Keep testing everyone who comes into contact with the artifacts. We can't risk even a fragment of the devourer pattern reaching our networks. Captain Rice entered the command center, looking more rested than he had in weeks. The United Stellar Council is sending a delegation. Apparently, our discovery has caused quite a stir among the galactic community. I imagine it would, Chen replied. We just confirmed that an information-based entity capable of consuming entire civilizations has been lurking in the galaxy for millennia. Not just confirmed it, defeated it, Harper corrected. At least this instance of it. Chen's expression remained somber. Takashi's sacrifice contained this outbreak, but the devourer exists across multiple vectors. The archivists encountered it on 17 different worlds before developing the quarantine protocols. The mention of Takashi brought a moment of respectful silence. His reprogramming of the power systems had created a recursive loop in the devourer's pattern, forcing it to consume itself in an endless optimization sequence. The feedback had destroyed most of the city's systems and killed all infected personnel, including Takashi himself. Dr. Njoroj joined them, carrying her latest findings. I've completed the comparative analysis of human neural architecture versus the archivist records. The results are significant. She displayed a complex neural mapping that showed the evolution of human brains compared to archivist designs. They didn't just modify us to resist the devourer. They engineered specifically human traits that their own species had evolved beyond. Intuitive leaps, creative inconsistency, even our emotional variability. Our chaos was our strength, Rise observed. Exactly, Njoroj confirmed. The devourer operates on pattern recognition and assimilation. Human minds naturally resist rigid patterning. Our thoughts follow associative pathways that even we can't always predict, which explains Takashi's ability to compartmentalize the infection. Chen added, and why his solution worked when the archivist's containment protocols ultimately failed. A communication alert interrupted their discussion. The orbital station reported an incoming vessel of unknown configuration approaching the planet. As they watched the external feeds, a ship unlike any human-designed craft decelerated into orbit. Its architecture bore similarities to archivist design, but with distinct differences. "They're hailing us," the communications officer reported with surprise. In perfect standard English. The main display activated to show a being from a species humans had never encountered. Tall, crystalline entities with flowing movements. Their spokesperson addressed the stunned human team. "People of Earth, we are the conservators. We have monitored the containment protocols on this world for millennia, awaiting this day." The being made a gesture of profound respect. "You have accomplished what no other species has achieved. You have defeated a manifestation of the devourer not through isolation, but through direct confrontation." Chen stepped forward. "You knew about the devourer, about the archivists. We are one of 7 sentinel species tasked with monitoring quarantine zones throughout the galaxy. The archivists were once our allies before they fell." The conservators' crystalline features shifted to something approximating reverence. Their final act, creating your species, was their greatest achievement. "And now?" Rise asked cautiously. "Now, humanity faces a choice. The devourer exists in multiple sectors of the galaxy, some active, some dormant. For thousands of years, the sentinel species have maintained quarantines, isolating infected worlds rather than risking confrontation. The being's voice carried unmistakable hope. With humanity's unique resistance, we can finally begin to reclaim what was lost. Colonel Harper regarded the alien with military pragmatism. "You're recruiting us to fight your war." "No," the conservator corrected. "We are asking you to lead it. The archivists designed you not just as their successors, but as the inheritors of their legacy, and the galaxy's best hope against extinction." Dr. Chen thought of Takashi, of Fatima, of all they had lost to understand this threat. She thought of Earth, still vulnerable despite its newfound knowledge. Finally, she thought of the countless worlds waiting to be freed from quarantine or the threat of infection. "We'll need everything you know about the Devourer," she said decisively, "and we'll share everything we've learned about fighting it." The conservator made a gesture of agreement. "Then let us begin. The inheritance the archivists left you is not just this city or its technology. It is the future of all sentient life."